excited are we? Recreational cannabis for adults is legal in 8 states and the District of Columbia, and the momentum is still building. This is something that I never expected to see in my lifetime, and it's making life so much safer for so many of us. When I was a teenager, I used to go to some pretty shady, scary places trying to get weed. I hung out with some pretty creepy, questionable dudes in order to get weed. I was even put into jail just because I wanted to decide what I put into my own body. In the cannabis activism community, we like to act a lot of times like if we get legalized recreational cannabis for adults, then that's going to fix all of the problems and all the dangers of the drug war. But let's be real. How many of us do a line of coke here and there? Or eat a bunch of mushrooms sometimes? Who here's ever popped a pill that wasn't prescribed to you? How many of us smoke meth, shoot heroin, do Molly? How many of us love somebody that does? For us, the dangers of unsafe methods of administration, predatory people on the black market, and criminalization are more real than ever. Because of the war on people who use drugs, we lose our freedom, our safety, our employment, we lose our children, and we even lose our lives. And for what? It's not about safety. Prohibition does not make anyone safer. Prohibition is and always has been a way to oppress populations that make people with power uncomfortable. We all share this ugly history, from the Chinese with opium, to black people and cocaine, to Vietnam War protesters and cannabis. Every single illegal drug was stigmatized and then criminalized for one reason and one reason only: to keep power in the hands of our oppressors. The people who hate cannabis users are the same people who hate users of other illegal drugs, and they hate us all for the same reasons. They spread lies about how we can't be trusted, we're unreliable, we're bad parents, we're criminals. They insult us with hurtful labels like tweaker, junkie, stoner. They keep us fighting with each other by separating us into these arbitrary categories instead of fighting back at them. Joining together and practicing harm reduction is how we fight back. It's just what it sounds like, reducing harm. Harm reduction is the idea that there's no way to avoid all risk in life, so we should reduce it when we can. A simple example is that riding in cars is dangerous, so you wear a seatbelt to reduce that risk. It's pretty much impossible to avoid cars altogether, but we can make it safer. Harm reduction for drug use is using clean and sterile syringes. It's fighting against stigmatization and criminalization of all drug users. It's getting a babysitter and a designated driver when you party. It's not sharing pipes. And one big issue that's facing Seattle right now, harm reduction, is safer consumption spaces. Safe consumption spaces, or SCS, are clinics where people can go and use illegal drugs under the supervision of a healthcare worker. They teach people how to inject safely, they provide overdose prevention education and naloxone. They refer people to services like drug treatment, housing, and other health care. They provide a place to dispose of needles safely, and most importantly, they're a place to go for someone who might not have heard a kind word in weeks. Establishing positive relationships with healthcare providers is one of the most important things that SCS provide. People who use drugs avoid getting healthcare because in the past they have been shamed, stigmatized, even abused. But even if you're one of those folks who thinks that people who use illegal drugs are less than human, you still have a good reason to be in favor of safer consumption sites. Scientific study of the dozens of SCSs all around the world has proven again and again that they reduce drug use, they reduce overdose death, and they cut down on needle litter in your neighborhoods. All while saving tax dollars that would have otherwise been spent on emergency services and disposing of the bodies of overdose victims. Research also shows that people won't travel more than a few blocks to get to an SCS. So these clinics need to be placed in neighborhoods where there's already a lot of open-air drug use. If you want to use your tax dollars effectively, if you want to see less needles in your parks and alleys, If you want people to stop dying in your public bathrooms, and if you want more people to get the health care they need, then you need to ask for a safer consumption site in your backyard, in your neighborhood. Every year, King County loses over 300 of our neighbors and family members to overdose. So it is not an exaggeration when I say that every moment we delay on this, people die. Join us at yes2scs.org. Delay equals death.
Yeah!